John here again, back with another movie review, and for this one, I felt it was time to cover an anime movie, since the genre is one of my personal favorites. To myself personally, and I'm sure for many others that grew up in the 80s, this movie is where anime started. But in North America and Europe, we were originally introduced to it under a different name, that being Robotech. But for this review, we will go back to that original show that started it all, Macross, and with this movie about to celebrate its 35th anniversary, oh man, the years and the years. I will be reviewing the first Macross movie, Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Do You Remember Love? Huge editor's note here, I'm a massive fanboy of this movie and the TV series. I partly grew up on Robotech and then transitioned to Macross as I got a bit older, so if you're hoping for a critical and in-depth analysis on this movie, this one won't turn out the way you expect it to. Released in 1984, during the height of the 80s J-pop craze in Japan, the movie is a perfect blend of J-anime and popular music from that time in Japan in the early 1980s, to the extent that one of the main characters were actually created as a vehicle for a popular singer at the time, that being Minmay, for Mary Ejima. My copy of the movie actually has karaoke lyrics on the screen in Japanese to allow fans to be able to do their own renditions of the songs, sing along as the movie plays itself out. And for the record, I have tried this out myself. The movie, and the TV series for that matter, is based around the love story of the three main characters, that being Hikaru, Misa, and Minmay. So it's really more of a love triangle, or Rick, Lisa, and Minmay in the Robotech version. While the sci-fi futuristic space battles, they only act more as a backdrop to this love story. The main gist of the movie is that the Macross defenders are attempting to return safely to Earth while being chased by the Zentrons, or Zentradi in the Robotech version. And while all of this is going on, we are introduced to our three main characters, our side characters, and are shown how each of them all interconnect to one another. Now, similar to my other movie reviews, I will now move on to the things that I liked and didn't like about the movie. Then I will move on to what I think could have been improved or what I would have done to improve the final product. Following this, I will provide a wrap-up with my final thoughts. For anyone who is a fan of the movie or the TV series, I don't really need to do or say anything here, and I can just turn music on from the movie or the TV series. But for any viewer new to this movie and series, and if you do enjoy J-pop anime music, this soundtrack, it's pretty amazing. Just take a listen to this. For the time period it's from, the animation is pretty top-notch. It's super imaginative and very detailed to the universe it's presented, while also it acted as an indirect influence to all future series that came out under the Macross banner, and as an indirect influence to most anime series based on space that followed. And can you tell yet that I love this movie? As I touched on earlier, the love story really is the highlight of the movie. With the operatic space battles, although being very well animated, they act more as a backdrop to it. In the movie version, we're given a very condensed version of the love story in comparison to what we get in the series, but I think the way it is portrayed here in the movie is very effective, since we're given an equal amount of time spent between Hikaru and Minmay, and then Hikaru and Misa. How the female warriors led by Milia, or Miria from Robotech, were portrayed in this film version is just awesome. They are far more vicious and violent than what we get in the TV series, and they pretty much give 0 Fs at all times, while inflicting some severe losses in the first battle with the Zeltrons that we are shown. While it has become somewhat of a running joke for fans of the movie, there are just far too many da culture scenes in it. That is, without the viewer being given proper explanation of what the Zeltrons are even referring to. That is, until the last act of the movie when Hikaru and Misa discover the sunken city, and then we're given that explanation in a long exposition scene told by the city's central computer. Yeah, the movie is that far out there, take my word for it, and let's just go on. It can be argued that Roy's death is somewhat effective in the movie, and while it also provides Hikaru and Misa a means of escape, it is nowhere near as moving as it is in the TV series, and I feel this was a real missed opportunity, since Major Foker's character is one of the best in the series canon, and a personal favorite. Alright, I'm aware that this movie is a far-fetched sci-fi fantasy story, built around the concept of something called protoculture, that neither the movie, series, or the Extended Universe books were able to even properly explain, since each outlet took creative liberties with the idea, but the sunken city is just a bit too far-reaching even for a fanboy like me, since there is no way, if this thing was somewhere hidden on Earth, that the planet's defenders would not be able to locate it, mostly because they have the same technology that spawned from the city, and are on the same level, if not an improved level, to what was found in said sunken city. But I may have nerded out a bit too much thinking about this, so again, let's just move on. When looking at Kakazaki's character, or Ben from Robotech, the character is really more of a lovable big goofball or comic relief part, but that doesn't mean he should be treated like a throwaway character, like he is in this movie. He's actually killed in mid-joke during the movie, while in the TV series, his death, similar to that of Roy's, conveys much more emotion through the story, and is during a dark moment of Hikaru's overall story arc. While growing up, I definitely identified more with Hikaru, since based on my age, he was the more relatable character. But as I became a bit older, I definitely started to find Roy to be the more enjoyable and well-rounded and written character overall. And while we do get a decent amount of scenes involving his character in the movie, I still think there isn't nearly enough. So yeah, give me more Fokker being himself or flying missions in his Veritech and less da culture discussion scenes. That would be great. As I mentioned earlier, what we get from the Maltrandi in the movie version of the story is far more intense than what we're given in the TV series, so I would have included more of these action scenes along with some exposition to better explain how this conflict between them came about and how the two races, who were originally designed to be together, eventually drifted apart and became enemies. Now don't get me wrong, the animation for the Max and Milia fight we are given in the movie is great, but I feel the fight is not long enough in terms of screen time, and the fact that most of it is fought in close quarters in a ship is very disappointing to me, so I would first extend the fight scene duration by keeping it outside in space, so we also get more of the dogfighting fighter scenes similar to what were given during their fights in the TV series. Quamzin's character, or Chiron from Robotech, is easily the most well-written of the Zeltrons or the Meltrons, and I have no idea why he's barely in the movie, and I actually couldn't find a scene he's in. His actions in the TV series are massive plot motivators, especially in the third act of the TV series and the final few episodes, but I guess in the movie, the writers wanted to focus more on a positive outcome to the end of the story rather than how the original series ended. That being said, I would have included more of this character because he's pretty badass, while having it lend an effect to the outcome of the movie, whether it be by his fleet leaving or fighting one side or the other. Well, this is my all-time favorite anime movie and series, so I'm definitely a little bit biased towards it. The soundtrack is awesome, and it helps set the pacing and tone for the movie perfectly. Not to mention, it's super positive and super upbeat, while the animation, albeit pretty aged now, is superb for the time period and definitely influenced all space-based anime series and movies that followed it. I also enjoy the fact that all the characters have actual depth in this story with real emotions and motivations that while it is set in a futuristic sci-fi scenario, they're also very relatable from a human perspective. But my favorite part of this movie is how it is a perfect time capsule of entertainment from the early 1980s, which I see on the same level of what movies like Back to the Future were able to establish. And the fact that when I'm watching it, I get the same feeling and just as strong as ever, and it always takes me right back. And that is pretty much the reason why we watch movies and TV shows or play video games from times gone by, because of how we all connect to that media and how it always takes us right back to that moment in time and to that same feeling we had while watching it. So with that, we've reached the end of this week's review, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now if you did, please like the video and leave a comment below to let me know what you think of the review, or tell me about a similar movie, TV series, or video game that you hold as close and as a personal favorite, similar to what I do with Macross Do You Remember Love. And if you haven't already, and if you like my videos, please consider subscribing to my channel, because it will only continue to help me grow, and I'd really appreciate the support. I'll love you for it, and I love all the support I've gotten so far. Thank you very much for watching. Now get out there, watch and enjoy your favorite thing, whether it be a movie, a TV show, play a video game, because after all, the love we have for all these things is something worth remembering.